Hello Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma, welcome to the Culinary Kitchen. This is Chef Jason of Native Chef LLC. Today we have a special video for you. It's Christmas recipes, and you know, my family, the Champagne family, gets to share our favorite recipes with you for Christmas. And today we're going to be doing doing maple glazed carrots with some vegetables, and we're going to be doing a citrus glazed ham that's slow cooked in the oven. I'll show you how to create a pressure cooker and really make that ham nice and tender. And we're also going to be doing one of my favorite dishes I like to do when I do have mashed potatoes. It's roasted garlic and shallot mashed potatoes. And I'm telling you guys, if you try this recipe at home, this may be the new go-to for mashed potatoes when you do have them. So got a lot to do. I just went shopping. Some of the stuff I had, some of the stuff I needed to get, that's done. Number one. Number two is we got a lot to do. We got different recipes to do, so got to have your timing down right. And again, I always talk about we got to look at what we need to do first. And the obvious thing is to get that ham into the oven. That's number one. And then timing after that, not starting to cook too much ahead of time, but you got to time it right. So that's the first thing we'll do. We'll get that ham in the oven. We'll get it started. And thank you so much for watching today. I sure appreciate it. I hope you have fun watching. Let's get started. First thing we need to do with our ham is we need to score it. What I like to cut this into like a diamond pattern. I only cut in about 1/4 of an inch. And what this is going to do, this is going to allow our citric juices to penetrate the ham. And it'll make it nice, more tender and more flavorful if you do this. So we're going to mark it all the way around about 1 inch apart. And then once I get them marked around, then I'll mark up about every 1.5 inches or so. So it kind of creates a diamond pattern all over the ham. And next up, we'll season with a little bit of black pepper. And then we'll take some fresh pineapple, or it's not fresh, it's canned, but they're sliced pineapple, and we'll lay some on top like this, and then we'll put some on the sides. And what I like to do is I just like to take a toothpick to kind of hold them in so that they don't fall on the sides, and we'll put pineapple all over on the ham. I'll place the ham in a roasting pan, and I have a roasting rack down here, and if you don't have that, that's fine. It can sit in the juices. I just like to keep mine off it a little bit, about 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 cups of water, and then I'm going to add the juice of the pineapple that came out of the can. And I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper. This will help. Sometimes if you put tinfoil on stuff, it'll leak onto the food. So I'll take a piece of tinfoil, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a pressure cooker, and we're going to really try to seal this to the best that we can. And we're going to cook this at 325 for 2.5 hours. Really try to seal it the best that you can. There's a few things we can do ahead of time here while the ham is in the oven. We're going to take about 3 bulbs of garlic, and then we're going to take a shallot. Shallots are a little bit sweeter than regular onions, and they're really, really great, especially when you roast them. So I'm just going to quarter these, and what we're going to do is we're going to put these on top of a piece of tin foil here, and just going to add a little bit of oil, toss them a little bit, and we're going to roast these in the oven with the ham. It should take about 45 minutes. We want these to be cooled. We're going to kind of make a paste with these. We're going to really cut them fine, and this will be added to our mashed potatoes, and we'll get that in the oven about 45 minutes. The ham has been in about 2.5 hours now, so what we want to do is we want to remove the cover, the tin foil, and the parchment paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to get some of these juices off the bottom the best that I can, and we're going to make a pan gravy with those. So we're going to get those juices, and then I'm going to put the ham back in the oven for about 30 minutes. You can do it for 30 to 45 minutes, and it'll develop a little bit more color. We'll put it right back in the oven at 325. Next up, we're going to cut up our veggies for our saute, and just get ahead a little bit for us. They can sit at room temperature. There's nothing wrong with that. So they'll be waiting for us whenever we're ready. So either 4 large or medium carrots or 3 large. These are pretty big. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into oval shapes, and then they're going to be about a 1/4 inch thick, little under a 1/4 inch thick, and then I'm just kind of cutting so that they become this nice horizontal shape, oval shape. Next up, we'll cut up a squash, and this end part here, we're going to cut these into a little over 1/4 of an inch until we get to the thicker part here, and then we'll cut it in half, and then we'll make these nice oval or half moon shapes. And then we'll cut up a bell pepper. We want to cut these up into strips. All I simply did was just cut it in half, and I took out the seeds, and I'm going to take out some of this middle part here, this white part, and then I'm just going to cut it directly in half and then turn it over, and then we'll get these nice strips here for presentation and color and flavor. Next up, we're going to cut up our potatoes, or our mashed potatoes, and I have some of these Yukon Gold potatoes, and I like them because they're the color. I just peeled them, and then what we want to do is we want to cut these into about 1 inch, about 3/4 or 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch pieces. They'll be easier to mash that way, and they're going to cook faster. And then I just put the potatoes in my double boiler, and again, it's one of the most important cooking pieces of utensils I have, cooking equipment. So water on the bottom, holes on the bottom of this one right here, and then the potatoes actually don't ever touch the water. We'll bring it up to a boil, cover it, and then we'll just cook them until you can stick a knife easily through them. And then a couple more cuts here, and then we can wash our cutting board. This is that shallot and garlic mixture, so really roasted well. We want to get this on our cutting board and take the time to really cut this up well. So finely chop this way, cross chop. And then once I'm done cross chopping it pretty fine, what I want to do is I want to use the bottom of my chef knife, and I'm just going to smash it and smear it against the cutting board. And then this basically turns it into a paste, and that's what we want. If someone gives a big chunk of garlic or big chunk of shallots, it's going to throw them off, but if you smash it into this paste, that's what we want. It'll get really distributed throughout the mashed potatoes, and just to have that hint of really amazing flavor. And then our last cut here, we're going to do a little bit of fresh rosemary, and you know, this is optional definitely, but especially if we're doing a fun and healthy Christmas meal, you know, nice to do some special stuff. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take it off the stem here, and then we're just going to finely chop this the best that you can, and this will be added to our mashed potatoes for a little bit of color and amazing flavor. Now that the ham is done, it smells amazing. It's really kind of coming off the bone here, you can see, so you know it's going to be nice and tender. So one thing I didn't tell you is whenever we put these toothpicks in, make sure that they're horizontal, so they're not going to break our tin foil whenever we want to, you know, earlier how we tried to seal it the best we could. Make sure those are horizontal. So what we're going to do is we're going to let it rest until we carve, and just cover it with a piece of tin foil like this. This helps not let that moisture escape up. It'll kind of keep it moist, and it'll be waiting on us. So we'll let it rest for a while before we carve it. Now we're going to make our gravy, I like to say sauce. Gravy and sauce are the same thing. Sauce sounds a little bit more professional. We're going to make a sauce. We're going to add some butter, and we're going to melt the butter first, and then we're going to add flour. And we're going to make what's called a roux, and that's going to be our thickener for our sauce. Now that the butter's melted, we'll add our flour. And basically a good roux is equal parts of flour and butter. And the recipe you'll get, I'm doing actually half of the recipe that you're going to get for this gravy, but it's just equal amounts, and we make this roux, and then we want to make a brown roux, especially if we're making a gravy for like a ham. Just keep an eye on it. It's going to brown quick, and just keep stirring it, and then it'll turn brown, and that's what we want. It doesn't take long to get this brown roux, only about 5 minutes, but you really have to keep an eye on it. It happens quick, and you don't want to burn this. So you're probably wondering why we took the juices out of the ham earlier. The reason is because whenever you make a roux, you either have to add cold roux to hot liquid or hot liquid to cold roux. So we have a hot roux now, so that's why we took the ham juices out earlier, to let them cool down. So what we're going to do is we're going to add half of our gravy, our stock, ham stock, and we're going to have half of our water, and we're going to cook this until it becomes thick. And then when it becomes thick like this, now we just want to add the remainder of our ham stock, and then add the water depending on your consistency. If you like thin gravy, don't add too much water. You can always add water, you can't take it away, so always remember that. You can always add, you can't take it away. So see how thick it is and see if you need a little more water. So now that our potatoes are done, we're going to go ahead and mash these up really good. And first off, we want to mash them without any liquid. This helps you get all those lumps out. This is the way I've always done these. You mash them really good without any liquid first. And now what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of light sour cream here. Add some of that. We'll add our milk, and we'll add our rosemary and our shallots, and then we'll mix this up really good. You really want to mix this well. Now I'll put it in the serving dish, and like I said, we can use our oven for a holding oven. So I got it set at 180, and the potatoes will hold in there for us, and then we can get started with our vegetable saute. I'll add a little bit of oil, about a tablespoon, and what we're going to do is we're going to pan-sear / steam our carrots here. So I got those carrots we cut up earlier. Just want to get them on the bottom of the pan, medium-high heat. We're going to cook these for about 3 minutes. Next up, we'll give them a quick stir. You see that nice color we're developing on the bottom. Now you see the importance of cutting them thin. They're going to cook quicker. So we'll give them a stir. Now we're going to add our zucchini and our bell pepper. Going to cover again, let it go for another couple minutes. Now we'll give it a quick stir again. Add a little bit of salt and pepper. Really stir it well. And then we'll remove it to our serving platter. Put it in the oven, and then we'll carve our ham. I removed the pineapple, and this is what I'm talking about right here. You see how it's kind of pulling away from the bone? That's a good sign that it's nice and really easy to cut into. So this is where we need to separate. It kind of tells you where to separate it right here. So this is going to be our presentation slices right here. This is going to be more for chunky soup or whatever. So it should be cooled off enough, and we just want to break that right off of the bone right there. And then we'll just take some time. We can cut off a little bit of that fat on the outside. Then there's this bone right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a paring knife, and I'm going to get that out. Either a paring knife or a large knife, but really kind of cut around it and get rid of that And once you get rid of that, then it's basically all meat that you can slice. Anytime you slice meat, you want to find the grain and you want to cut against the grain. That's going to be the most tender meat. And right here you can see the lines are going down. So what we don't want to do is we want to cross cut where we find the lines at. And then we'll just cross cut. Really tender, smells amazing. And we'll cut this up and we'll get it put on a serving platter. And then for serving, we'll just kind of shingle it right on top of a nice buffet style platter here. And then we'll put our pineapple right in front here, so if people want a piece of the pineapple, they can have one. And then the gravy was on a simmer, really slow simmer, so right before service we'll put it into a serving bowl. I'm so thankful that you watched this video and you joined me today. I had such a great time doing this food, and you gotta have fun in the kitchen. And you know, Christmas is such a special day for all of us, and it's also a special day to have a good meal, Christmas Day meal. This is what our family normally eats. We usually do the ham, veggies, and potatoes, and you know, sometimes you know you do the normal mashed potatoes and you add milk and salt and pepper. You call it good, but sometimes on special occasions, that's a good time to start introducing some new ingredients, such as the roasted garlic and shallot and the rosemary, and you know, doing some veggies, adding some color. Now that I think about it, a green bell pepper would have looked nice, especially since it's green and red. And the carrots actually look red, you know, they're orange, but they kind of blended in with the bell peppers. So, you know, every day I learn too. Every time I do a meal, I always learn. I think to myself, what would I do different next time? So that's a key to cooking. A key to having good food is to be creative, be colorful, become an artist. Chefs are basically artists. I consider myself an artist, except I don't use paint. I use food on plates. So really smells amazing. The ham is nice and tender. I had a piece of it earlier, and everything turned out really great. And just one concept, always remember, you can always add, you can't take away stuff. So if you add too much salt, you can't take it away. Add too much milk to the mashed potatoes, you can't take it away. So always remember that. Thank you so much again for watching. Have a great day. Stay safe out there and be well. Miigwech.